Blog Talk Radio.
Energy Forecast Show on this Tuesday, June 18th, 2019. Thank you for joining us today, or if you're listening later in the archives on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or to the YouTube video I make of every show. Thank you. I appreciate your support. If you like what you hear on Earth Energy Forecast, you can further support the show by going to the homepage of my website, JoanCerio.com. That's JoanCerio.com, and clicking on the donate button above the icon for Earth Energy Forecast. Please bear with me today as I have a touch of laryngitis. I may be clearing my throat from time to time. Before I introduce today's guest, here's a brief update on what's happening on Mother Earth. There are 2 earthquakes today. First, there was a 5.8 earthquake in China that has taken the lives of 13 so far, with thousands injured. Another one was in Japan. It was a 6.7 earthquake. No reports so far of injuries, and a tsunami warning has been lifted. I'm sure there's more information coming about that one, too. While astrologers predict a hot summer, NASA predicts the next solar cycle, cycle 25, will be quiet and the weakest in 200 years. So far this year, the U.S. has had over 1,000 preliminary reports of tornadoes, with 846 confirmed. There are so many dead whales washing up on the west coast of the U.S. that NOAA is asking people to report any sightings. The Arctic permafrost is going through a rapid meltdown 70 years earlier than predicted. And the beat goes on. Today's show is all about our pets and how they influence our lives. After all, pets are part of the family, and some couples choose to have pets in lieu of children. I anticipate that we'll have many callers today. My guest today, Dr. Joanne LeFebvre Connolly, is a veterinarian and author who will discuss her book, Animal Teachings from Haley's Angels Methods. Dr. Joanne is a veterinarian promoting intuitive medicine. She guides families in tuning in with their pets, themselves, nature, and the universe to make better medical decisions. She is vegan and inspires all animals and humans to live in balance as one with the web of life. Dr. Joanne published her first book, Animal Teachings from Haley's Angels Methods, and is currently writing her second book. Welcome to the show, Dr. Joanne.
Thank you. Hi, Joan. It's a pleasure being here with you.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show. So it makes sense to start at the beginning. So let's start by finding out why you became a veterinarian.
I love animals. Animals are the best teachers, and they started teaching me when I was very young. I was a middle child. I had a lot of time on my hands. I would play outside and just sit in the grass with the ants crawling on me and the earthworms that I just thought were fascinating. So I've had more animal friends than human friends. So I followed that passion. I worked in a wildlife refuge when I was a teenager and got into veterinary medicine, veterinary school. And I've just been learning from them every day of my life, and I wanted to share what I've learned with you and your listeners and as many people on this earth as I can to take good care of our animal friends.
Yes, I can understand about them being such good friends, because no matter where I go, I need to have my animals around me. Where I live now, I feed the squirrels, and I have one that I've named them, and the one I call
Yes, I do
Snoot,
that too.
and come on, Snoot. And there's, I've trained them well, or they've trained me well actually, because he'll come scratching at the door, or he'll come over to the window where I sit at the computer. He'll go up the bird feeder post and look in, and like, are you going to feed me? And the blue jays do the same thing. They'll they'll
Oh, that's
they'll sit at the perch near the slider where I feed them, or they'll come over to the window where I sit to do my work, and they'll look in. So yeah, they're great. They are really great.
that's and living in harmony with them and just remembering that inner child inside of us that doesn't want to do any harm. And unfortunately, modern society is kind of shut that down inside. We don't realize our impact on our world, and we have to realize it because often we're part of a lot of the destruction unconsciously. We don't want to harm, but we end up harming because, again, of modern living. So if we all go back into our uh, inner child and our being young at heart and looking at the world like it's our first day on earth and being amazed by how beautiful it is and how fragile nature is. And when you're looking at those animals who visit you, you want to be caring for them and you want to be stepping lightly on the earth and really being careful with every little step that you take. So I've become really careful with living sustainably, reducing what we're using and recycling, obviously, but uh, consuming less in general so we can take better care of Mother Earth.
Definitely. Yeah, it is true. It's that innocent perception to maintain that throughout life. To
Indeed.
be like a child. Um,
Yes, yes.
so
That I
how
would
did
say.
you? I'm sorry.
No,
What
go
were you
ahead.
saying, Dr. Joanne?
I think that's really that innocence that is making me is my biggest power today, to not being afraid of being innocent and feeling vulnerable and looking at the world from the eye of a child of when I was young and keeping that outlook throughout life because it's making you make better decisions. You're not just part of the mass and you catch what is wrong with the world and you try to fix it. And that heals. It's really healing for me to be like that because I just want to help and I don't want any more destruction. So it's helping me every day be more caring and loving with everything I do.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So I was going to ask you. So how did you open up intuitively and feel all this connection with the animals and Mother Earth?
So, we were all born with it, but obviously, again, we become callous because of the way we're brought up and the modern living. So I went through vet school, and obviously, I needed to be more callous. Luckily, to get through it's rough, and you need to be able to learn about the animal bodies and detach emotionally a little bit. So, that was all good, but I luckily I managed to reconnect, and mainly because of my dog Haley who was a rescue, and she became old, and we had to help her pass. And luckily, I could bring the medications to my home to help her pass peacefully at home. She was really sick, and it was better not to move her. She had trouble breathing. So once we helped her pass at home, she left me with this amazing legacy that I was not expecting at all. But people started calling me to help them with their animals at home. And so it became this amazing journey that I got on that I was scared about. I had just lost my beloved pet, so I was devastated. But I felt her guidance from heaven, would you say? It's the first time in my life where I really felt like she was there holding me because I needed to be held. I was crumbling, I didn't know which way to go in life. And so this was a wonderful gift to me from her. And then amazingly, I was able to spend all this time and years, it's been 12 years now. I've helped over 10,000 families and all this intimate time spent in people's homes, connecting with them in a very non-clinical setting. You're at home, you're comfortable, everybody's laying on the floor with the animals. You've got the rest of the animals who might grieve the loss of the one who we are helping go to heaven, and it's so comforting. And then the families share with me some amazing stories of how in touch they are with their animals, and every little detail matters, and a dream that they had that's helping them decide that it's time for their animal to go to heaven, or a sign of guidance, or a bird visiting them, or just those amazing stories that have brought me back to feeling all those things and being more aware and wanting to just care all the way, care for the world in general. And so I felt like my heart really reopened, and I was less in my brain as a clinical veterinarian, and it all fused together, taking care of the mind, the body, and the soul. And those animals have soul. They're just like us. And I have amazing stories about reincarnations, and, animals and people sharing the same diseases and dying together. And so I share a lot of those in the book, because we all need to reconnect on that to sacred level.
Definitely. And I'd like you to share some of those stories if you would. Because I was going to ask you, because, you do talk about it in the book, like how do, animals, do they go to the same place that humans do after we die? And do they reincarnate faster? Do you know? Because if you communicate, I've spoken to a couple animal communicators, and, I'm just wondering if they've told you, from coming back.
I really feel so. I've had some personal experiences, and I've had other people also sharing with me different stories. So one of them that I love, obviously, I share in the book. This one client of mine, we helped her her dog go to heaven, and then unfortunately her husband passed. And then this little puppy came to find her. She adopted this little dog, and she swore that her husband had come back in her puppy, because this puppy would bark and try to bite specific people in her life that her husband disliked. And so it's very anecdotal, obviously, but there's no way to prove or disprove. So when you, the more stories or the more feelings we all have about similar situations, then we agree that it's possible based on that. But I do some readings with pictures, and so I asked her to send me the picture of the puppy, and I didn't want to see. I was afraid of seeing the picture of the husband, because I felt like the energy was going to be really strong. But anyway, she sent it to me without me asking, and when I felt both energies from the puppy and the husband, it was just the same. It gave me chills all over my body. So when you start feeling with your own body, different things, like a knot in your stomach, or you have this just gut feeling you have to do something, or an urge about knowing something that you have to call your friend and say, hey, this is going to happen, or I need to warn you about this. So we become more in tune with what we're feeling inside. I have a dog at my house. I swear he was my horse before, just because of the way he's acting. He'll come sit between my lap a lot, like I'm riding him, and he has a weird looking pattern on his back, like he has a mane and a tail. And so what's funny is that a few people have mistakenly called him a horse. And he says, oh no, your dog, but they call him a horse because that's kind of the energy that they're getting. So all of those signs that I find are not mistakes, or they're not coincidences, because there's just too many of them. You start believing that, oh my God, we are connected, and we do come back with the same souls, or to find our people again, and we can, I think, go back and forth between animal body or human body. It just depends on the soul's purpose in reincarnation. Why are we coming back? What is it that we have to learn? And I do feel like, I think we're coming back with the same souls, different bodies, but we continue learning together. So we find each other, and that happens a lot when I ask families, how did you adopt your pet? And oh my God, like 90% of the time people say, oh, this pet found me. It adopted me. I didn't choose, or I was going to choose somebody else, and then this one just came to me. So I find that fascinating also.
Yes, yes, that does happen quite a bit. So tell us why you think animals and their owners have the same physical diseases.
We share life together, so that's a big one. Why do we get sick in the first place? Obviously, there is some genetic genetic problems and diets. Whatever we eat will impact us. But when I started noticing really early on in my career, which was 18 years ago, that when I would make a diagnosis on an animal and I would tell the family, oh, your pet has a heart condition, and then the family would say, the mom would say, oh, I have a heart disease too, and kidney stone, oh, I have kidney stones too, and back problems, oh, me too. And so I feel like we are going through life together. We're going through the same stressors. So stress, obviously, it's not good for any of us. So when we're out of balance, the body follows the mind, follows the emotions that we're going through, and so we do become weak and develop diseases. And our animals are little sponges, so they go through life with us. And when somebody has multiple animals, I always find that the sicker one is the one that the owner is the most attached to and spends the most time with, and that's the favorite animal of this person. So that animal takes on a bigger stress or bigger emotional baggage that it carries with them. And granted, a lot of our animals find us to help us get through crisis in our life. So um, it's okay, it's okay that we have them to support us. But maybe just the one thing we can do to help them is just try not to unload our emotional baggage if we can help it. Trying to be more zen, because the more zen we are, the more zen our animals will be. And so if we need to yell or have a crisis, maybe if we can do it behind closed doors or away from the house, so our animals are less subjected to feeling all those things and taking those in. And some animals obviously do it more than others, but I've seen also how some animals will end up dying because of it, or aging much, much faster uh, when they are in very stressful situation, or let's say they help a person get through a divorce or get through an illness, and then they end up dying, which is their
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
They fulfill their life purpose, and now it's time to go. But it's really fascinating the connection that we have with our animals and how it affects our bodies.
Yes, definitely. So, how can we prevent disease and accidents for our pets and ourselves?
So many things that I share in my book, but definitely eating well. Um, Eating well, we could spend an hour talking about food, but I think what is the most important for pets and people is to eat as simple food as like nature intended. So no chemicals, no preservatives, no dyes. And so reading the labels, reading the ingredients, so it is as fresh as possible. And there is a lot of different food companies and food products. So trying to eat something that is definitely more simple and ancestral and like nature intended. So that will help us a lot. Having a balanced lifestyle, and we all seems to run out of time in this modern crazy society where we all need to slow down. And if we look at our animals, they try to teach us, to become more balanced. And often we get upset at them because they take all their time to stretch. When we tell them, okay, let's go out, we need to go potty real quick and come back in. Let's all slow down and follow the animal's guidance into achieving a more zen lifestyle, spending less time in front of the technology, in front of TV, computers. I don't even own a TV because I just feel like I need to spend time outside reconnecting. And animals do that really well. It's been scientifically proven that grounding is very therapeutic and healing. And what does grounding mean? It's being in touch with the earth. So earthing, you can be barefoot and just walking, feeling the earth under your feet. I've reached a whole new level of just laying in the grass with my whole body, and then I've got the dogs and the cats, and we have a pig too that found me, so the pig lays next to me, and just spending time to be, and having no thoughts, no worries, and just spending time every day to be, and that is really helpful. De-dramatizing our life, not allowing any people in our life that are toxic for us or are our animals. Animals are great, great judge of characters. So many times,
Yes,
somebody.
they are.
My dog didn't like my girlfriend, so and then I realized that I didn't belong with her or didn't like the boyfriend. So when you look at your animals and see who they like and who they don't like in your life, and you kind of clean up, it's super powerful. Cleaning up materially also, if there's some old whatever it is, books, bookshelves, tables, knives in the kitchen, anything that reminds you of the past, of people that you didn't like, or, that you cringe when you think about, like anything that makes you cringe in your house, you have to get out to get rid of it. That is so helpful. So that's cleaning up our lives on all level ultimately, and reconnecting with our life purpose and the life purpose of our animal. So not all dogs want to do agility, or not all dogs want to be therapy dogs. Some people will get an animal or a horse with a very specific purpose. This is what I'm going to do with that animal. But maybe the animal doesn't really want to have that job. Maybe it wants to have another job. So being in tune with each of our purpose, our animals and ourselves. What do you love in life? What does my dog live for? If you could say one word, if you can describe your animal and the one thing that it loves in life, what is it? So reconnecting and giving our animals and ourselves what we really need, feeding our souls. I have a cat at my house that needs to go outside. He came from the wild. We rescued him, and if he doesn't go out, he'll be constipated. He's miserable. He can't live. It would kill him to stay inside. And then he starts hunting us and hunting the other animals in the house. So he needs to go outside. So finding the balance and what's healthy for every animal and every human in your house, your children, your spouse, it's super, super helpful. So that will help overcome a lot of genetics too that might not appear, so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what diet do you recommend for dogs and for cats then?
So again, there is a lot of different brands, but obviously, cats are carnivores, so they do need to eat meat. I think that's part of their genetic makeup. Dogs can go either way. So, they can live on a vegan diet. They can eat meat. I think it becomes part of the personality also. If you see what your dog thrives on. Some dogs love lettuce and carrots and celery, and I'm really impressed. My dogs they love meat and they thrive on it. And I have one that's, got food allergies, but we managed to get him on a balanced diet. So, and again, it's really, grains. Some dogs do really well with grains, so I'm not against grains. I'm not against, some dogs will do well with raw food. There's not one diet that will fit everyone. So I think it's really feeling our way and reading the labels most importantly. And sometimes, I believe in law of attraction or signs of guidance. So if you stumble upon a diet that is really convenient for you to use and it sounds really good and it's at the grocery store and your pet looks great on it, and there's great diets in all price ranges also. So I would say if you come across something that talks to you inside, then yes, by all means try it, and see if your animal does well on it. But similar to what we would eat, some people do well with meat, some people don't. And listening to our bodies, looking at your pet's stools at the other end and making sure it looks normal. And having a balanced food. Sometimes it's dry, sometimes it's canned, sometimes it's more of I really like the freeze-dried diet or dehydrated food that haven't been cooked. Obviously, it seems like you have more nutrients in those diets. So there's so many options available now. It's really great.
Yeah, there are. My sister's dog loves vegetables and fruits. Just loves them. He could be a
That's
vegetarian, I
impressive.
really believe.
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's maybe it came from a previous incarnation as a herbivore, and now her dog is a dog, but it has a lot of affinities with a herbivore, so that's wonderful.
I have to apologize if you can hear this. I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but
Yeah.
it's the fire whistle here in town, so um, it'll be annoying for a little while. Nothing I can do about it. Um, so also, he'll go days without eating, and my other sister's Chihuahua. The first sister. He's a long-haired dachshund. My other sister has a Chihuahua, and he'll go days without eating, and then he'll eat again. Is that typical for certain breeds?
I wouldn't say breeds, but I think more of an ancestral behavior. Some animals are more in tune with their wilderness, if I can say. So I've seen quite a few dogs that will kind of fast themselves, and I don't see it as a problem
Yeah,
if it
I
works.
haven't seen it that way either. They know when they need to eat and when not, and I trust what the animal
Exactly.
does most of the time.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. Some pets eat twice a day. We tend to say to offer twice a day. I always tell people, offer twice a day, 3 times a day if it's a puppy. But then let your animal tell you if it wants to eat just once a day, that's fine. If it skips a few days and has is on a cycle, animals tend to follow the cycle of nature and the seasons also. So that's fine.
Mhm.
Yep.
And then my second sister has another Chihuahua. She's a smaller one, and she'll eat constantly. So I know there's dogs that don't know when to stop. Is that more of an emotional issue, or what's?
Yes, I
I'm
think
sure it's individual again, like humans, but just throw some things out there for us.
yeah, some it is individual, but I do see some animals that I mean, food is good. Let's face it, we love to eat. So, and the herbivores they graze all day long. So the rabbits, the horses, the pigs. I've had them at my house, and it's good for the GI tract to eat always. And so they're just grazing throughout the day. Cats seems to nibble also. That's more what they do. They eat a little, they sleep, and they eat and they sleep. So cats, I definitely try to just leave the food out at all times and let them self-regulate. Although, like you said, not all the time because some animals can't stop themselves. And yes, I think we end up in the situation where they eat their emotions because they're bored, they're stuck inside often, or they don't get enough stimulation. Or they're picking up stress from the people that they live with, or the other animals if there's a bully in the house, and then so they end up overeating, just like us. When you're binging, you had a long day, and it's really fascinating when you start looking at your own behavior. And I had to do that with myself because I wanted to really find out why. When I would binge, what was it exactly? Why today? What happened today that made me just need to eat and eat and eat? And yeah, I definitely see the pattern. So the animals are the same way. And so then we just have to limit what they eat, obviously, so they don't gain too much weight and try to distract them, try to feed their soul, because that's what they're trying to do. And when you and I binge, you can tell it never feeds your soul. You can eat until you want to pop and you still feel like you're needing something, but ultimately it's your
Mhm.
soul that's
Mhm.
not being fed. So we all need our animals need to have a more balanced life for sure so they can be fulfilled. And sometimes that means, yes, enrolling them in programs. I've had quite a few dogs who go to schools so kids would read to them. And I love that. Oh my God, I see these dogs. They're
Oh,
so in love with those children and they
oh, that's
they love
awesome.
their job. Yes. And
Mhm.
they're
Mhm.
making a major difference in these children's lives. So finding what each of our animal needs, and cats have needs too. We think they're easy to raise and all that, but they have major needs and individual needs also. So we just need to tune in with every one of them and try different things and see what seems to work. for our clan, like our pack in our house.
Yes. Yeah, maybe my sister was thinking of taking Tilly. Tilly's her name, the smaller Chihuahua. Um, Once my sister retires to the hospital as like a healing pet, one of those, and because she's so, I mean, we call her chill pill till, she's
Oh,
just chilled
wow.
out, and she'd probably love it because she loves people petting her, and everyone falls in love with her, and I think that probably will help her. So we'll see how she does
Completely.
with that job.
Yes, and she's a Chihuahua.
Yes.
That's impressive. That's impressive because a lot of them are one person pet, but she's very unique yeah, she's very unique because she doesn't fit the breed standards. So that's wonderful. I would definitely want to try her in those environments because it sounds like she wants to go chill everybody else.
Yeah, yeah, I really, she's great with that.
She can wear a little jacket. Yeah, chill pill till. That's little
So,
shirt.
yeah, I know, really. How does knowing your pet's mission help you to grow then? How does it help us, the owners, to
Oh
grow?
my God. Because animals know better. It seems like they always bring us back on our path. And if we try, it's good, of course, to try to plan out your life. But the best things in my life have always been, oh my God, look at that. It happened because I rescued this horse, or now this pig is making me do things that I would have never thought I would do. And the pig likes to go to the beach, so he's got the harness, and we load him up in the car. He's got his ramp, and so he steals the show every time and he's very curious. So he's got a very active mind. We need to keep him stimulated. So I think
Huh?
if we just ultimately stay in tune and so not be too rigid in, okay, this is where I'm going with my life, but keeping our options open to what door seems to open, and when this pig, Wilbur, showed up at my house, of course, I was a little mortified at first. My husband and I, he threw us for a loop. We were not prepared, but we embraced the challenge because there was no one else who could take care of this pig. He needed us, and he knew, he knew I was a veterinarian. I neutered him right away because his behavior was unacceptable, and he became the best pet, really. So by keeping our options open of, well, look at this, this. So a lot of people end up on paths that they would have never chosen, but their animals are forcing them onto a certain path in life, and it's amazing the blessings that we end up. Looking back, you're like, oh my God, thank God for this animal that showed up when I didn't expect it, or because look at me today. I went on a completely different path, but following that flow of energy is amazing. I think that's where the most beautiful things happen, where in the unknown, and it puts you out of your comfort zone sometimes. But if you are daring to jump off the cliff because you're being forced, and it seems like that's where the flow of energy is taking you, then I say, my goodness, just trust that your wings will appear to keep you flying, and never doubt a situation that happens when all the signs are there that you need to go in a certain direction. It will definitely you'll have a lot of gratitude later for what you've become, because we grow through those situations that are might look a little sticky at first, but then wow, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. So
That's right. I couldn't help when you were telling me about Wilbur that to have this visual of a pig with a bathing suit on the beach. It's just
yeah. Yes, now I have to be careful because he definitely everybody stops, doing what they're doing,
yeah.
and it creates a commotion. So I have to be more aware of what where I take him. But he's a cutie.
Well, maybe that's one of his jobs.
Yeah, I think so because I'm vegan, and when people meet him, then we always talk about every people just say, "Oh my God, I can't eat bacon anymore." And I said,
Mhm.
"Well, good job, Wilbur. You've done your job. When people eat ham, they need to know what the animals have gone through, and it's pretty terrible how the animals are being treated in the factory farms. So, I would say if you eat meat, ideally you raise your own animals, and if you're able to turn them into meat, that's better, great for you. I'm so impressed. I'll choose to be vegan because I just can't, deal with the slaughtering, but
The
I
slaughter.
do believe." But I do believe some people definitely need meat in their diet to thrive. So we just need to give those animals the best life possible and then the best death possible, and thanking them for feeding us. So
Yes, yes. So the hardest question for pet owners, I think, is how do you know when it's time to help your beloved pet pass over?
So I think it's really the focus must be on quality of life, and that goes for ourselves too. Life is short. We're gonna die. We all know that it's gonna happen. So we need to not be in denial that we need to make sure that we all die with dignity. So if we can improve quality of life for ourselves or for our animals, then we do. We we reach out to doctors, natural healers, friends, different ways, however we can make life better for our animals. But when um, when we feel, and each animal is different, so that's the thing. You can have 10 animals that are in kidney failure, let's say, but they all have different personalities, and some of them won't allow us to even touch them. They'll try to bite us, and they're like, no, no thanks, I don't want any help, I'm going to do this my own way. And we have to honor who they are, because what's worse than dying is suffering and medical torture. I'm very sensitive to that. I don't want anyone to lose their dignity. I think there's way too many who lose their dignity, especially people. People at the end of their life, I wish we could help them with medications when they are suffering, and we've tried everything to keep them alive, but we have not been able to. So luckily, we have that blessing with animals that when we feel like an animal is at the end of the road, and like I was saying, some animals will give us clear signs where they will start hiding in the closet, or they're just not themselves, or they're needy. They look at us in a different way, and a lot of people will tell me, "Oh, my pet gave me the look, like he's done," um, or else the other animals that live with that pet can give us signs also. Their behaviors might change. And I had this one dog in particular who came to the hospital with his owner, and his owner was really distraught over, like, should I euthanize him? Should I not? And the answer was given by the brother, the other dog, who hated coming to the hospital. And that time he insisted to climb in the car and come with the owner and his brother, because I think he knew it was time. He knew it was the last time he wanted to be there for his brother. And so, and that's the vibe I got too when I looked at this animal who was really old, but he was okay, but he was having seizures, and they were getting really hard on him. And the owner was going for a long trip. So everything from all angles that we looked at the situation, all the signs were there, small signs, but they were there. And ultimately, they brought us peace of mind in knowing that we were making the right decision for that animal. So it's a very individual basis, but there is enough signs usually, or dreams that people have that they feel they get some guidance. And I had that with my horse. I had a dream that he was finally free, and him and I were riding together, but we were flying in the sky, and he was white and shiny and just he was and he had turned into an angel in my dream, and he was free of all illness, and he was young, and he was so powerful and beautiful. And so when I woke up, and he had been older, and he had some pain, some chronic pain going on, but again, he was okay until that dream. And then I went to the barn, and he was not moving at all. His feet were planted, and he did not want me to try anymore. It was time, and I felt at peace because I had that dream to confirm that he was asking me for my help, and we ended up we sent him to heaven. So it's always difficult. It's difficult for us, but we can't let them suffer. Our animals need us, so we do need to be strong and honor their wishes. When they're ready, we just need to call for help or give him permission to let go, because it's amazing also just when we allow our animals to go, they will go without medications. They will hang in there for us and sacrifice
Yeah.
themselves
Yeah.
because we don't want them to leave us. So it's difficult to be selfless, but it's extremely powerful to just tell our animal, I love you. I'm giving you permission to let go. So follow your journey. I'm going to miss you, but I don't want you to suffer. And so just thanking them for their wonderful years and teachings together and sending them on their way, just saying, just free yourself. You can go now. And they often die before I can make a home visit to help them, let's say, So that's really
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
beautiful, because we get that confirmation that, yes, indeed, they're ready. They made their own. They passed on their own. So that's really nice.
Do some animals? I had one dog that I think he just went off to die. Do they sometimes just go off to die?
Yes, it's the behavior of the wild. Animals will hide by themselves. It's easier to die when you're alone and you don't have to deal with those energy, uh, the energy bonds that are really strong. Because it's
Right.
hard for the
Right.
animals too,
Yeah.
and you see
Yeah.
that in people. A lot of
Same
people.
way with people.
Um,
Definitely. Yes. Hmm.
yes, they stand. They're present with their loved one dying, and then they go to the bathroom for 2 minutes, and their loved one died while they were away for a couple minutes, and people are upset about that. But no, it makes sense. It's easier to die when nobody else is there, and you can take care of your own soul and follow the spirits guiding you. A lot of people on their deathbed talk about their deceased family members that are there showing them the way, and then some people think they're hallucinating, but no, I mean, if you listen to what they're saying, it's amazing. Actually, I have an interesting story too about helping people die by euthanizing the animals when everybody is sick and old and dying in the house. And so this one lady was super sick, but she couldn't go because her animals were there and they were struggling themselves. And so we made the decision that we had to help two of her animals go to heaven. And she died within a few hours after knowing that her pets were at peace and she could
Hmm.
finally just let go.
Right.
So that's so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. Yeah. So do pets grieve? I've seen where dogs will sit at the foot of the bed or a gravesite of a beloved owner that has
Yes.
passed.
Yes, they definitely do grieve. And one thing I would love for the medical field to do better is to allow the animals to be there or to visit with their owners once they're passed before they take away the body. Um, because animals often, if their owner dies at the hospital and never comes home, they're completely lost. They'll wait at the door forever, for days. They just don't understand, and
Yeah.
it's
So
amazing
sad.
the power in letting the animals visit with the body of the deceased person or animal. It gives them a lot of closure and understanding. And yes, if they can visit the graveyard, the grave site, it's also very healing, because some animals will spend many days, like for a couple weeks, that they will visit every day. And I see that animals grieving animals also. And it's really
Mhm.
nice when
Mhm.
you can
Mhm.
bury your animal at home, because it allows the other animals to visit the grave site and spend the time that they need to get used to this new reality, this new chapter
Yeah.
starting.
Yeah.
So when I do the in-home euthanasia, I always allow and want the other animals to do what they're comfortable doing. There is this little bunny who I went to his home twice to euthanize his doggy friends, and this little bunny was there both times, sitting right by the dying one, and it was so sweet and
Yeah.
powerful
Yeah.
that he was there escorting them into the next world. He was not even scared of me, and he didn't know me. It was just so amazing that they sense what's happening. So if we allow them to be there, it can really be helpful. And obviously, you've got the other extremes of some animals in the wild. They might run away from the sick one because the sick one attracts predators. So the wild instinct is to just leave the old one, the dying one, alone. So in the house, it can happen where animals are definitely gonna stay away from the one that's dying. So that's another sign also. That's another way to know that, okay, there's a problem here because everybody is hissing or, getting away from one animal in particular. So I just try to let the animals do what they want to do. Some funny situations, that I've encountered is when the bully dies. So the bully leaves the house, and the other animals definitely celebrate and become more. They just feel like, okay, thank God this one is gone. I can finally breathe and be myself. And then so these cats would just, come and rub next to us, and they would just come out of their shell because they finally are given that space and territory that they needed. So it can be pretty amazing.
Do you believe that certain animals can sense earth changes, such as earthquakes? And if so, how do they do it? If you know.
I definitely believe it. A lot of animals will have seizures, like the ones that have, let's say, seizure disorders. They'll have seizures when it's about to storm or to rain. And I think they're just more in tune with the energies of the earth, and we have that power, but unfortunately we've become so in our brain and not enough in our heart and in our body, just feeling everything around us. And we need to go back to that. We need to go back because there's so much knowledge there, but yes, you see the herds of deers or horses or cows just running away from a natural disaster before it happens, so they're very much in tune with what's happening. And yes, we need to go back to that level. It would be so good for us.
Yes, I agree. And definitely going back, into the heart, because the heart's electromagnetic field is connected to the electromagnetic field of the earth. And so when we are there living in the heart, we stay connected to that. We can feel it.
And so then that's
nature.
what and people try too hard with their brain to be intuitive or to figure out answers, so we need to make the difference that, yes, of course, we have a brain, we should use it and try to make decisions with it, but often we cannot make decisions, and that's when we need to go to the heart and see who's going to win between the heart and the brain, and it's always the heart. I've always made the best decisions with my heart, and my brain has put me in trouble a few times because you had that gut feeling, and that's, so it's really feeling what your body's telling you, and you learn how to listen. And then when you try to deny what you're feeling, then you get yourself in trouble, and you're like, oh, I knew better. I should have really listened, but I didn't. And so we grow and we learn through that.
Actually, we do take in intuitive information through the heart first, and then the information goes to the brain. So the heart does get that information first, and that's why you should always follow your heart, because it has that intuitive, that subconscious mind, that is connected to the cosmic mind, to everything, so we can be in touch with everything that way.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I talked about the dead whales washing up on the west coast of the U.S. at the beginning of the show. Do you have a theory as to why this is happening? It's happened before.
The whales have the biggest hearts of all animals. The whales, to me, and I talk about the whales in my book because they were very present when I felt the need to write a book, and I felt like they were supporting me. They have this unconditional love for us and for the world in general, and unconditional love, truly. So we can be mean to the earth and destroy, and they're still going to give us everything. But I'm afraid that we are overwhelming them because the earth is completely out of balance right now. And I'm not surprised, I guess. I'm really sad that they are not able to cope with our destruction. I feel like they're just showing us how out of balance we are. And obviously there's a lot of chemicals, being spilled in the ocean, and plastic. I mean, they're finding so much plastic in whales. And so I really feel like if we go back to a more balanced and healthy lifestyle, it's going to help all the animals around us, because right now we're destroying everything, and the polar bears are dying, and everybody everybody's dying. I mean, it's crazy how many species are going extinct because they can't
Yes.
cope with
Yeah.
us, what
Sad.
we're doing. I mean,
Mhm.
we're horrible.
Mhm.
But we can still
Mhm.
fix it. We just need to really go for it, and every single person on this planet can just take on, you can't take on the world, just take on your own life. And if you do it and I do it and everybody does it and just focuses on what you're doing and every little step every day, that's how we can win. And we can truly win. And when I see my neighbors, like how much garbage they produce, and I take my trash out like once every 2 months, honestly, and I'm just puzzled. How do you consume so much stuff? Even if I wanted to, like I don't know, I couldn't. So every little step counts, and recycling and reusing different furnitures, like trying not to buy too much new because we're using up all the resources of the planet. And it feels good
Yeah.
to live that way, just very
Uh-huh.
simply and sustainably.
Uh-huh. Definitely. We had one caller and then they hung up, but if you're listening live right now and you have a question for Dr. Joanne, you can call in. Anything else you want to share with us today, Dr. Joanne?
I'll give you my website that you can connect with me and find me on social media from the website and access my book that's available on Amazon and it's available as a Kindle or paper, but it's recycled paper copy, so I made sure of that. So my website is www.haley'sangels.com, and the spelling is HAYLEYSANGELS. And there's one topic maybe I can just chat about real quick when I was thinking about it. But one more reason why we get sick that I find often is our environment. And by that, I mean some people and animals will thrive in one state, let's say, or by the beach. But then they get moved in the middle of the desert, let's say, and they get sick. And I've seen that a lot, and it always fascinates me. So when we make decisions about where to live, making sure that we thrive in that environment, which whether it's by the ocean, again, needing water in our lives, or being in the mountains, if that's where we thrive, or being in the forest with trees, or the desert. The desert was really good for us. We were there for 11 years in Arizona, but the chapter ended and all the signs pushed us away closer to the water. Now we're in Florida, and we needed that. So different life chapters bring different needs, and we need to always readjust to what
Yes.
our animals and ourselves need at what point in our life, and that will help keep us healthy also.
Yes, I agree with that. Definitely.
Mhm.
Well, we don't have anybody calling, so thank you for coming on the show, Dr. Joanne. This was great. Very good information, and I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be listening to this in the podcast because everybody loves their animals, and animals are just really popular now. I mean, it's amazing what we do for our animals now, and what you can buy, and you know,
Yes,
so
what we do for our animals that we wouldn't even do for ourselves. They make us
no,
exercise. They,
I
so
know,
yes,
I know.
they're the best teachers. So I love them, and thank God they're on this planet. They make my day every day. So I thank you so much, Joan, for having me today. And this has been just wonderful to share so much wisdom from the animals with you.
Oh, thank you. Excuse me. There goes my voice again. So, just a few announcements before I end. This Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. at Lilydale, I'll be giving a workshop called In Your Heart of Hearts, as long as my voice continues. You will learn about the physical and metaphysical heart, the sacred place in the heart that I call the sacred coordinate, and the heart's role in creativity and enlightenment. You will not find this information anywhere else, as it is taken from my book, Hardwired to Heaven, which is now out of print. This 3-hour workshop is only $65, and you can register online at lilydaleassembly.org or register at the door on Sunday. So if you're in the Buffalo, New York area, please stop by, and I'd love to see you there. Next week's show will be all about 5G. I will have Dr. David Carpenter, director of the Institute for Health and Environment from the University at Albany, New York, to discuss the potential health effects while I give you the latest information about 5G. And later this year, I will have return guest Eric Thompson from Subtle Energy speak about the potential ways to mitigate the effects of 5G. Stay tuned, stay informed. It not only affects us, it affects our pets as well. Thank you for joining me today.